peace. Our love receive, though blindly we pray. Silently guide our thoughts when we stray. Oh, many years so proud of our wisdom, turning from God we've wandered alone. So many years we've boasted but madness. Now our souls call thee, make us thy own. How many years so proud of our wisdom, turning from God we've wandered alone. So many years we've boasted but madness. Now our souls call thee, make us thy own.
Welcome everyone to our Sunday service. Special welcome to all our guests, our visitors here at the Expanding Light, at the meditation retreat, staying in the community, and also online. And we'd like to extend a very special welcome to a special guest from India, Sri Kartikeyan Ji, who is here to help us participate in the dedication of Swami Kriyananda's Moksha Mandir. So thank you for coming. For those that don't know who we are, my name is Nayaswami Parvati, and this is Nayaswami Parvati, and it's a joy to be with you. This reading is taken from Rays of the One Light with commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Today's topic is the secret of right action. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. One of the most famous stories in the Gospels is that of Martha and Mary. Jesus, visiting the home of Martha, was teaching while her sister Mary sat at his feet, absorbing his divine love and wisdom. Martha, meanwhile, busied herself with serving her guests and was upset with Mary for not helping her. "Lord," she cried, "doesn't it matter to you that my sister has left me to do all this serving alone? Please, ask her to help me." "Martha, Martha," Jesus answered, "thou art careful and troubled about many things. But one thing is needful, and Mary hath chosen that good part, which shall not be taken away from her." This story is classic, for Martha's complaint is very understandable, and not on the surface of it spiritually wrong. Jesus may well have told Mary to get up and help her. We don't really know that he didn't, considerate as he always was of others' needs. But the teaching here doesn't concern the obvious dilemma of devotees, to work for God or to spend all one's time in prayer. It concerns, rather, the attitude of the mind. Jesus didn't tell Martha, "Martha, you are doing too much." He told her rather, "You are letting your work affect your inner peace." That was the contrast, not work versus contemplation, but restless preoccupation versus peaceful absorption under all circumstances. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, actions performed under the influence of desire are greatly inferior to those which are guided by wisdom. Happiness eludes people when they act from self-interest. Seek shelter, therefore, in the equanimity of wisdom. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
also would like to welcome everyone, and we're very happy to be here and to share this Sunday service with you. So I'd like to start by reading one of Yogananda's Whispers from Eternity, one of my favorites, actually. Wake me that I may know that the terrors of mundane delusion are only dreams. Wrapped in the blanket of hope, I slept long. I dreamed I was sitting on a throne, my face wreathed with smiles. My smiles withered, and the petals of my merriment dropped away one by one. Suddenly I beheld myself in rags. Seated on the hard stones of poverty, I wept, and my teardrops fell on the unheeding, unrelenting stones of my present circumstances. The world passed me by in mocking silence. I cried out for thy help, and thou didst wake me at last through the force of my desperation. I laughed to find myself at last neither rich nor poor, but safe forever in thy arms. Oh, waken all anxious souls from their dreams of smiling opulence and crying poverty. O maker of dream worlds, deliver me forever from the nightmares of disease and death. Wake me to immortality, wake me to unshaken calmness, that I may know the fierce terrors of mundane delusion to be only dreams. So today's topic, the right secret of right action, is a very core and essential topic for all of us. I was thinking just about the key elements that are necessary for right action, and they're enumerated by Swamiji in various books, Swami Kriyananda. But one of them is non-attachment to what we're doing. We really have to put out full energy and move forward, but without attachment. And another one is deliberately and consciously thinking of God as we act. And the third one that he mentions in the promise of immortality is inner communion, speaking with God, sharing with God, everything that you do, constantly talking with God, saying, okay, I'm about to do this. What do you think, Divine Mother? Is this the right way to go? And God, in whatever form you feel, as Divine Mother, as the Guru, in whatever form, as your friend, as your beloved, whatever works for you. But those three, I would say, are really core to understanding, and I would add the art of right activity, not just the secret. It's not so secret, we just need to do it. But the art of it is yet another thing. And so we take those three elements of non-attachment, letting go of the ego, of remembering, and Swamiji says consciously and deliberately, because he said activity is so ensnaring, that it's so active, that we need to consciously and deliberately remember God as we're acting. But the one way to do that is really that inner communion aspect, and that really just getting in the habit of talking to God. Okay, Divine Mother, it's you and me now. Here we are, working together, and I'm not quite sure if I'll understand what to do here, but I'm sure you can help me as we go along. So those things, but that art happens over time, and it happens over time as we practice. And I was thinking that for me, my experience has been with Ananda. Came here long ago, met Swami, dived in and just started working and serving and doing everything. And along with that, I was very fortunate, as many people here have been, to find a true teacher, a true teaching, and to have the satsang of other people so that I could feel what right action felt like, not only from Swami Kriyananda, but from the other people who were a little farther along the path than I was. In fact, when I first came here, that's what drew me. Those two elements was Swami, absolutely. The teachings were fabulous. I had just read the autobiography, and it felt like the autobiography came to life here. And it was wonderful. But I also saw around Swami people like myself who were taking up this practice and doing it well. And I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And the last element for really being able to practice right action in the right way is being given the freedom to make mistakes. Being asked to do things, being given the responsibility if you want to take it, and then being free to be able to experiment. And sometimes you're successful and sometimes you aren't. But that's the joy of being on the path. And it's the only way that we really learn what right action feels like, what it looks like, but what it feels like inwardly when we know we're flowing in the right way. And it's with God, it's with Divine Mother, it's with Master. And that energy, which is conscious and is their energy, in fact, is flowing through us. And when we start to get all those elements right, the ego starts to lose its grip on us because we know it's not us doing it, it's that energy coming through. And so for me, working here at Ananda, creating different things, being asked to do different projects, some of them which I felt were way over my head, but I said, sure, why not? Let me try it. One time in particular, which I think I've shared before, but which was a real whopper for me, was when Swami and Seva and Vijay and others left. After Swami had written the path, finished it, and around the spring of that year, 1977, he needed a break, and he traveled in Europe some, and then went to India and was in seclusion for a number of months there. Those people, Seva especially, and Swami, were core to what was going on here. Seva was the accountant, and she would open her drawer, and there were 7 or 8 checkbooks in there. And I remember thinking, wow. And I remember going to Asha's trailer at night one time and saying, well, Seva's going away for 7 months now. Well, who's going to take her place? And Asha, in her very dispassionate way, said, well, actually, we were thinking you would do that. And I was like, you've got to be joking. But it ended up that I did do that for 7 full months, and it was me and Divine Mother and Master, and I called on them daily, every day when I went in to deal with 8 checkbooks and all the different things that went on in the community during that time. And it wasn't me alone. There were many other people involved at that time that were helping out, but we all took on things that had been really being guided by Swami. But that feeling of right action really comes into play when you take on things like that and are able to feel that you really have to call, maybe out of desperation, you have to call on God to flow through you. And I learned many lessons from watching Swami act about what was right action, what did that look like when you were acting with all of these elements in place. And so, as well as other people in the community too, I was thinking that, in this time, we're about to have one of the largest events we've ever had here next weekend. And there will be 500 or 600 people here, and it will be a wonderful weekend. But I thought it's really an historic time because Ananda has been around now for over 45 years, going on 50. And now in this time, we'll all come together. And I thought, seeing each other face to face, we have the internet and we have all the ways we can touch base and all of that, and we're kind of aware of our worldwide work, but seeing each other and seeing each other's vibration face to face will be a very important time for all of us, because from this time forward, then we all go back out to the various aspects of Ananda that are worldwide, international, and move forward with right action, with devotion, with service, and with an awareness of each other, and that we're doing this together to bring Yogananda's vision of world brotherhood colonies, of success in business and family life, of education, of the arts, of all the different aspects. Ananda is bringing that out into the world. And at the core of it all is right action. If we don't have that, we will begin to diminish. And what that means, every single one of us, whether you've just walked in the door or new here, or whether you've been here for a long time, that we take up that practicing that art of right activity and understanding more and more deeply how to do that, combining meditation with outer action, and that we do that in a way that's open and free and loving and in tune with this new time of Dwapara Yuga, an age of energy and expansion. And so it will be a very wonderful, momentous time. But I thought at the heart of everything that we're doing is that art and that practice and that devotion to right action. Ananda's not the only one doing that kind of thing in the world today, but it's one of the more dynamic and focused and out there. And I think also that people who come here, I was thinking, people are just enamored of coming to Ananda. It's a little hard to believe. I remember the scene in the Finding Happiness movie where the woman has just come, she's a reporter, and she's taken to the Crystal Hermitage, and the gates open, and it's like Shangri-La. It's like unbelievable paradise. But it's believable, and it's real, and it's here. And people experience that in many different ways. It's not just about, the reason I'm saying this, it's not just about peace. It's about a dynamic, conscious awareness and practice and life that we give to people who come here. And people are very, very open and very wanting to draw from us in that way. But our commitment to that is vital. We really have to be the representatives for Master, now for Swami Kriyananda, out into this world. Every one of us. Every one of us. I was remembering also, when you get right action right, and it's really the art of it, you're getting a little more of the hang of it, and it's being perfected. There are different examples of that, and I wanted to mention just a couple that just kind of struck me over the last number of years. One was a very just dramatic and traumatic event that happened a number of years ago to people who are deeply peaceful, peace-oriented, and this was to the Amish community back in Pennsylvania or Ohio. I think it was probably 5 years ago or so. And a neighbor of theirs who was very mentally disturbed came into one of their schoolrooms and killed a number of children. It was just shocking. And the whole world, because of the internet, everyone knew about it. And it was a shocking event that happened. But the real incredible part that came right behind that was that the Amish community, and I don't know a lot about their teachings, I know they're very conservative and all of that, but they must be doing things right. because their reaction to that was, yes, they took care of their own people, but immediately they went and offered support and financial aid to the wife and children of the man who had done that. It was just this amazing thing, and I thought, well, that's what Swami said about what makes an Ananda minister. He said, an Ananda minister, just a very simple explanation, is someone who, even when they're having pain and troubles, thinks of other people first. And again, on the internet everywhere was what had happened there and what the Amish had done. And I thought, wow. And then in addition, a few months later, they demolished the schoolhouse. And I thought, I haven't seen that happen in America and other places where tragedies have happened. But they were very smart to do that. It wiped away the place and the vibration, and they could move forward as a community, which I'm sure they've done. Not an easy thing to do. But that really struck me because, you know, the other part that happens in America right now, and it's really gained and gained and gained in momentum, is action and reaction. People are very, very reactive today. And I was thinking back when I grew up in the 1950s and 60s in Los Angeles, it didn't have that vibration that it does today. People weren't out suing each other. They weren't out, you know, but now it's about whenever anything happens, who's to blame? Who didn't do something right? Rather than what needs to happen here to make it better, to move it forward. Who's to blame? And so I thought the Amish really did quite a wonderful job of showing to the world a different reality, a higher consciousness. It gets lost because there's so much going on in the world today, but it is an example. Ananda is another example. But the other part, another example that I wanted to share with you all is Mother Theresa of Calcutta. For this reason, she's now gone, passed away, but her work and herself, she became very well known. And I thought, I know there are a lot of people doing good work in Calcutta, and similar work to what she did. Why was she so well known? And there was a movie made about her a number of years ago, quite a number of years ago, actually. We watched it when we were in Seattle in 1987, and it was made by two women who followed her around the world, filming her in various situations. And they also filmed commentaries by people who knew her well, close friends, some priests and other people. But one of them was a very clear picture of why she became so well known, at least in my mind. This one priest said, people looking at Mother Teresa will say, wow, she's wonderful, she's doing this great work of serving the poorest of the poor on the streets of Calcutta. But he said, keep in mind, she was a school teacher basically right off the streets of Calcutta for 20 years. And she did not serve the poorest of the poor. She was a school teacher in a very exclusive girls' school. But when she went on an annual pilgrimage and in seclusion, she felt that Jesus spoke to her and asked her to do that work of serving the poorest of the poor. And that's why she did it. And that, to me, and Swami Kriyananda also commented on this, it has power because she was serving God. She picked up on what was being asked and she moved forward with it and developed basically a whole work around that simple understanding that Jesus was asking her to do this work. And she said the hardest thing that she ever did was pick up the first person off the sidewalk. After that, things seemed to roll. But making that first step, it took a lot of courage. She had no money, she had no place. She had a few friends, and she just moved forward and made that happen. So anyway, it's interesting because that also brings, again, that idea of right activity into a higher understanding, because it needs to be not just what we think we should do, but what God thinks we should do, because then we open to that power of the divine flowing through us and out into the world. And it has a tremendous impact on people everywhere. So with Ananda and with our work here, I was also remembering that when I came here, there were about 90 people here. It wasn't big. Now there's a little over 200, 250, something like that. And you might think, well, that's not very many people. But from this, we have established, little by little, a whole worldwide work. All throughout the United States, communities along the West Coast, one by one. Europe happened, mid-1980s, then India. And it's almost like someone like Divine Mother went like this and it all appeared. But it was a lot of hard work and a lot of commitment and a lot of joy. I'll just close with this thought. Someone said to me a while ago, wow, we're so grateful for all the sacrifices that you all made, because, you know, we lived in trailers. It rains, it rains 60 inches a year, mud, no roads, little electricity, 2 phones in the whole place. So there wasn't much here, but I have to say it was wonderful, and it was not a sacrifice. It was great joy, because we were here with Swami Kriyananda, with Master, serving and diving deep in the teachings. There wasn't a lot of outward entertainment in those days. The entertainment was on Saturday night, we'd have a 3-hour meditation. But still, the joy and the incredible blessing that came from being able to be part of it. Wow, our great blessing. But from that, everything has flowed, and it's still flowing. It's not to say, looking back and like, oh gosh, you know, you got to be part of that and I didn't. You can be part of it right now. It's still happening. It's still expanding and still growing. And through that avenue, again, Master Yogananda, his mission to the world at this time is very dynamic through Ananda. It's really wonderfully happening. And it's because every individual is committed to working on themselves and to allowing that divine to flow through them. And the one last thing I wanted to say is that the result and the fruit of right action is inner freedom. We know we have that phrase that Swami said is one of our 2 main things with Ananda. Yatta dharma, statta jaya. Where there is right action, right dharmic action, there is victory.
All your children, Mother, call you, knowing not it's you they call. Some through mists of their unknowing, bruised and hurting when they fall, turn away, but who can leave you? You, the mother of us all. If the child forgets its mother, will she coldly turn away? Wise or foolish, we're your children. Guide us, Mother, if we stray. Those those whose hearts are torn with anguish, lack the power your name to call. Heal their wounds, Ma, soothe their sorrows. You, the mother of us all. Heal their wounds, Ma, soothe their sorrows. You, the mother